to connect with someone on a deeper level is the one thing that most of us have been exposed to at a young age, which is porn. And I don't see a lot of people talk about this from our generation. So I'm making this video to spread awareness and share my story because I've been holding off this video for quite a while. I've thought about this video for months, and now I finally have like the courage to speak about it and how it affects relationships and, you know, everything else that has to come with it. Have you ever thought about how porn can ruin the dynamic of a relationship, or even just relationships in general? Especially from someone who has been affected by this since I was a child. Not a lot of people think about this, but since I was a child and I have been exposed to it, which I will get into a little later on, it has ruined the way that I think about relationships with intimacy, connection, and just overall realness of the relationship. So first of all, automatically, if you get into this at a young age, it already distorts your mind of what real intimacy looks like. You are thinking when you're watching these things that intimacy is supposed to look like that and it's normal. You don't need emotional connection, you don't need closeness, you don't need vulnerability to even participate in these things. Already, if you think that is your idea of intimacy just with what you watch and what you consume, when you meet someone and you have that expectation, it's already destroyed, because that is not what a real connection with someone looks like. Now, from a young age, I was exposed to this not because I was seeking it out, just because someone could not control their desires when I was in 3rd grade. And in 3rd grade, that's when everything changed. The way that I thought about a lot of stuff changed. The way that I thought about men changed. I was exposed to things that a child should never be exposed to. It messed with my head for a long time, and sometimes it still does mess with my head. But I want to spread awareness because this is something that a lot of men and women struggle with. They struggle with the addiction to porn, and this is why I'm making this video, because you never know the real effects of porn until you actually stop watching it. And I've been clean off of it for 4 years now. I don't feel the desire to watch it. I don't have the desire to watch it. It's nothing that I would ever want to watch again. Anyways, so when I discovered this in 3rd grade, my innocent curiosity was immediately destroyed after this, because I started to think, what is this? I never knew what this was. I never knew what that looked like, okay? The man that exposed me to it is someone that is in my family, just because this man could not control his desires at this time. He couldn't control it. I just think that it's so insane how a grown man, even still, is addicted to it. But anyway, so my innocent curiosity was destroyed that day, and, you know, it's very different from our grandparents. Like they could have like magazines or like the Playboys, whatever. But for us, for this generation, we have such a fast-paced digital media that we can just look up whatever we want and click on whatever we want and see whatever we want. So at a young age, I was on my iPad looking at all these things, not even knowing what I was really looking at, not even knowing what I was setting myself up to even see. And if a lot of you don't know this, porn actually rewires your brain, and especially from a young age, it's releasing this dopamine in your brain, and you're gonna want more, of it. So I was consuming it at a young age and not knowing the effects that it had on my brain. Anyways, as I continued to grow up, I was still exposed to it, even more because the man still couldn't control his desires. And as I grew up throughout this, I thought a completely different way about men. I thought that they were all lustful, uncontrollable freaks, that they cannot control a single thing, especially if you are around family and you still can't control your desires, then that's crazy. And I always thought like this. So for me, you know, my dynamic, my idea, or what I expected from a man was already messed up because this was already laid out in front of me. Even like watching it throughout someone else, like through my eyes, and watching them participate in this, it literally looked like they were not themselves. Like I don't know how to describe it. It's just like you lose all control, and honestly, it's disgusting. Like the way that they are after they participate in that activity, the way that they are after, it looks like they were full of shame and full of regret. And I've been through that. I'm not saying that, I'm not trying to shame anyone or do anything, but we know as humans that this is morally wrong. Like this is wrong. There's something wrong with this. But it is an addiction, almost as a drug addiction. Anyways, from a young age, I never thought anything was meaningful as in terms to a relationship, and still to this day, I am saving until marriage just because I am still trying to deconstruct the beliefs that I have in my head. Although I was exposed at a young age, I was never active because I just knew that there was something wrong with this, and I knew that if I was ever going to get to that point with the man, I just felt like I would have been used. And I also knew if I was going to go through with that desire that I had when I was younger, because when I was younger, I had more of a drive or an attraction just because of the things that I was watching, even though it actually didn't come from me. I don't know how to explain it. I didn't feel a desire to be with anyone in that way, but watching these things made me want to experience it. But, you know, as I grew up and I stopped watching it, I knew that it wouldn't be love, it would be instant gratification, because that's what porn is all about. It is instant gratification. Porn doesn't teach you about love. Real love is about self-control. That's what it is. If you can't control your urges, how can you even control yourself in a relationship? Now, fast forward, I would say I was about 16. This is when I met like the first guy that I ever liked. I really liked him. I've not been in a real relationship yet, but this is like the first time that I feel like it was a connection, you know? Again, this man, we were young. It's fine. We were young, but still, the relationship was ruined due to his lack of self-control. When I went, I wasn't even looking for anything, but when I went on his phone, it was full of OF models, full of Instagram models, full of everything, when this man is in my ear telling me, no, like, I like you, like, blah, 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 you're so amazing, yeah, whatever. But that's something that I still deal with till this day, because the lack of self-control, and I am used to it because, of course, from my childhood, this grown man could not even control himself when I was in 3rd grade. Like, what do I expect? But porn has ruined so much. I have never in my life had an actual genuine connection with a man, because if I ever get into a relationship or whatever, this man has to have self-control, has to have self-respect. There's so many things that we have access to nowadays. It's very hard to not have an addiction to something. Do you know how many relationships are built off of lust and people are assuming that it's love? It's crazy, and people still don't know. Lust is infatuation. Lust is gratification. Lust is nothing compared to love, and people are out here thinking that they are in relationships that have love in them. Also, how many relationships has been ruined because the man has OF models in his phone and the woman found out? Crazy. It's a crazy amount, but the sad thing is the men are never going to learn, the women are never going to learn until they understand how destructive this is to our generation, how destructive this is to ourselves. This is why I think self-control is so important in relationships, because if you don't have self-control, how can you build loyalty, trust, intimacy, affection, all of these things. You're not going to be able to build it. And also, if you want to have a family one day, if a man is watching this, please listen to me. If you desire to have a family and a wife one day, do not be like that man that I had to endure in 3rd grade just because he could not control himself. This man has altered my brain chemistry for the rest of my life since I was a kid, all because he lacked self-control. And I'm not saying that you're going to be like that if you are watching this. I'm just saying, if you want to settle down, if you want to have a family, if you want to have all of these things, have self-control, please, because you do not know the effects that it has on other people, the effects that it can have on your family, the effects that it can have on yourself until it happens. No one is perfect, but learning how to control your urges shows that you have maturity and respect for yourself. There's even studies on this stuff. The American Psychological Association did a study on how porn consumption affects relationships, and there is a high level of dissatisfaction from men because they consume these things and expect unrealistic standards from their partner. And we see it nowadays. Porn is the destruction of everything: communication, romance, intimacy, relationships, closeness, affection, every single thing. And many men nowadays do not know how to talk to women at all because they have been consuming this media since they were 12 years old or even younger than that. They lost sight of reality. They do not know what real intimacy looks like. First of all, in pornography, in these videos, pleasure is always immediate, their bodies are perfect, and consent isn't always clear. That is so unrealistic. Mutual consent is required. Mutual respect is required. Real intimacy takes trust, built up trust. And now many men do not know how to talk to women because they have these built up shame, guilt, anxiety, and low self-esteem because of what they've been consuming. Porn also shows these young men and women that relationships should always be exciting, spontaneous, fun, when that is also unrealistic. Real relationships are required off of trust, time, effort, communication. It doesn't teach us anything about romance. It killed romance. From a young age, it gives us unrealistic expectations that aren't grounded in the complexities of life. For example, anyone that does OnlyFans, it may look empowering at first because you can control your own content, but this also ties into the societal narrative that women are just used, are there for their bodies, their looks, and her ability to cater to men's desires. This only perpetuates the idea of objectifying women even more. I don't even mean to get into another topic, but this is like such a deeper issue, and this also plays into, as more women get into platforms like OnlyFans and all of these things, it's only playing into the larger image. The devaluation of women roles in the job market, in the traditional job markets. Hey, why would we struggle to climb the corporate ladder when we can just sell ourselves, right? But then that also plays into us, the societal narrative of women just being used for their bodies and not even using their brains. Why would we need to use our brains? Why? We would simply just exist for the male gaze. And this also seems as an easier escape for a lot of women and men's instant gratification, because now it's like this easy escape from the grind of hard work or going through college. It's dangerous because it feeds into the true belief that women are just valuable from their sex appeal or their looks or their bodies, and not from their intelligence, their skills, or their aspiration. This is where our ambition, our creativity, our intelligence basically takes a backseat. In this generation, in this society, we are constantly told that our looks matter the most. Looks are the most important thing. This is not just a personal issue. This is a cultural problem that needs to be addressed. True empowerment is knowing you are far more worth than what you look like. There's a lot of points that I had in this video, but mainly just the lack of self-control in our generation. And even I myself thought about maybe participating in those activities because I didn't understand the point. And also I kind of already had an idea of what all men are like, so I'm like, why not just make my money that way? And maybe I will talk about that in another video, but I know that I'm far more valuable than just doing that. Anyways, it's super hard to find somebody on your spiritual level and your mentality, especially in this generation, because there's so many things that this generation deals with. And you know me, there's a lot of things that I had to debunk in my life, already things that I have been through as a 19-year-old, and the way that I think about things is not normal for my age. But I just wanted to spread awareness to everyone, and I hope that you take this video and leave with some information, some thoughts that can change your mind or your perspective or your mindset, even about anything. Because really, as a society, we are declining. The lack of real relationships, the lack of empathy, the lack of real connections is truly astonishing. But it all starts with you, with what you consume, with what you watch, the media that you consume. You know, if you are thinking, if I'm like this, nobody else can be like this, that's not true. That's how I used to think, but I truly believe if I'm like this, there can be someone like me in a male version out there, the way that they think about the stuff that I think about. But you know, I hope someone takes something from this video and really learns self-control and how valuable you are as a person, and how that can really detriment us as a society, even yourself. But anyways, I hope you guys have a good day, and I love you.